Hi folks, and welcome back to another Travels of Red Rover. I'm Shawn, and Corinne is actually driving another car this morning as we take down our Jeep Gladiator for some special TLC. The following video is going to be about having the Pentastar 6 replaced with a new America's Most Wanted 505. I hope you enjoy the following video and some of the information it provides. Hi folks, we sure hope you're enjoying our videos, and if you are, we'd really appreciate if you would subscribe. Also, if you happen to enjoy the video, please take a moment and hit that little thumbs up button. We'd really appreciate that as well. So the first question that some of you folks might have is, why would we want to change from our Pentastar 6 to a America's Most Wanted 505? Well, to be just perfectly frank, it's horsepower. In adding 37-inch wheels, a full suspension, protection underneath, and the Harker camper, the current engine just really can't manage to give me the power that I need. And mostly what I'm doing this for is actually highway driving. On a good day with a strong wind behind me, the Jeep right now really only can get up to about 60, 65 miles an hour. And that's a problem living out here out west, where the typical freeway speed is about 80 miles an hour. So, and of course, we have a lot of mountains and hills, so we're constantly going up in elevation. And I'm just finding there's just not enough power in the engine to get us up to the tops of the mountains and that we go for our four-wheeling. So that's the primary reason. So as most of you know, even if you do a lot of off-roading, if your Jeep is also the driving vehicle that you're going to take to get there, you want to be able to keep up with traffic. And otherwise, it can be both frustrating and extremely dangerous as you have the big trucks start to pile up behind you. So that's the main reason we're doing it. The reason we chose America's Most Wanted is, quite frankly, because of the other YouTubers that have changed their engines and used the AMW product. Had a lot of really good reviews. One of the ones that I follow regularly is Wampa, and they use their Jeep in many ways very similar to the way we use ours. We don't tow, but then again, we have the extra weight with the camper on the top. So he seems to have had great success with that, and we're also hoping that we're going to have great success with making that change. We're quite fortunate out here in southwest Utah that we have quite a few off-road companies that support our vehicles. So we're going to be taking ours down to Dixie four-wheel drive to have the engine replaced. And they're the same people that essentially put all of the suspension, wheels, everything but the camper on this Jeep. So they're very, very familiar with how it's set up. And we're just very comfortable working and using that particular facility. They've been an absolutely great resource. So let's talk a couple minutes about some of the technical reasons I might have picked the 505. Well, first of all, it's 500 horsepower. I mean, I don't need 500 horsepower, but I want 500 horsepower. Is it really going to make that big a difference over the Pentastar 6 in terms of power? Oh yeah, because the Pentastar 6 is putting out maybe 185 horsepower. I'm guessing at that. But that's probably close to where its upper end is, and it's really struggling to maintain or provide enough power for the freeways that we typically drive on. The next reason is America's Most Wanted's got a great reputation. They're using engines and parts directly from Mopar. It comes with a warranty. If I have to take it in to get it repaired someplace, there's very likely they're going to recognize the engine and being able to get parts for it. those were all really important things in terms of making that selection. The other, or another particular reason is that it's a fairly well-tried engine. So it's not experimental. It's not wildly on the edge of new technology or anything of that sort. It's a pretty well cut and true engine, and so you can make some pretty decent predictions about how it's going to function in the vehicle. Also, that they've put in a whole lot of these engines. So again, I'm not the bleeding edge of technology trying something new. In fact, you can go buy a America's Most Wanted version of the Jeep Gladiator, and I think Wranglers as well, directly from your Jeep dealer now. You can actually order it. So again, it's common enough that I'm not trying something that's wildly new or different. The engine's going to add a little extra weight to the vehicle, and as it just turns out, my current suspension is probably already set up for that. I'm running a little stiff as it is, and having a little bit more weight really won't hurt my suspension at all. So I don't really have to do very much other than replace the engine. When the engine is replaced, all of my instruments will essentially work exactly as they do now. So I don't have to learn or try to figure out a whole bunch of extra skills, at least in terms of my four-wheeling. Everything will work predominantly the same. One other major change that I am making, I'm going from the Rubicon's 4-to-1 transmission. I'm talking about now being in four-wheel drive low. And if I'm not saying that correctly, it's because I'm really not a mechanic. But I am moving to I think it's called a 3.2 or a 292. I don't remember exactly which one it's going to be. So I'm going to have a little bit more speed in four-wheel drive. And that's actually, frankly, the way we use our vehicle, probably quite good. We use four-wheel drive a lot, but I find four-wheel drive in first and second gear not all that helpful for the kinds of things that we do. So getting a little bit quicker on the transmission and that sort of thing is going to help us quite a bit. And I think we're going to like that a lot more than we currently like the 4-to-1. It's not that 4-to-1 is bad. It's great. It's been great. The only thing we find with it, again, with the type of off-roading we do and the kinds of driving that we do, we just frankly don't need that much. You know, this vehicle doesn't climb walls. It doesn't climb rocks. We're unlikely to do trails where we have to climb up much more than, 18 inches of steps. So we really don't need to have that extra ability in the vehicle. As I mentioned earlier, we've had a long relationship with Dixie Four-Wheel Drive, including Milt, who is the original owner, and his son Bryce. We've used these folks to build out our Jeep, and quite frankly, they have been instrumental in providing advice, suggesting the correct products, and really making sure those products work well and in harmony on the Jeep. And they've virtually done everything on the Jeep except put on our Harker camper. And even then, I consulted them at some extent in terms of the suspension, knowing that the Harker would be heavier. So it was obvious that we should turn to them when we wanted to do an engine swap. And we were surprised to find, and very happy to find, that they had a relationship with AMW and could help us do the engine on the Jeep. So the engine swap took about 3 weeks to do, which was exactly what we had expected. And as you can see, it didn't take them long to take the engine out of the Jeep. Here's the old Pentastar, and that's going to a new home and another Jeep vehicle. And then here's the 392 505 being ready to put into the Jeep. It's a beautiful engine, and it went in, according to Price, really in a quite straightforward way. So I'm not a very mechanically inclined individual. And in purchasing a new engine for the Gladiator, I wanted to make sure there was going to be something that other people would recognize. And of course, the AMW product is based on the Chrysler 392 engine, and therefore a pretty well recognized engine using Chrysler or Mopar parts. This was very important to me in terms of making my purchase decision. Something I didn't really recognize or understand when I purchased the engine was just how complete a package it is that's shipped from A&W. You know, not only does it have the radiator and the transmission and some other basic stuff, the package is so complete that by the time the guys are finished, with a very few exceptions, they really didn't have to worry about buying or trying to fit other parts into the engine rebuild. Consequently, it went quite quickly, but also it had all of the things that had been tested and tried by AMW before it went into the engine compartment. And I thought afterwards that that was a really good idea. And finally, the engine's back in, the bumper's on, the front end's back in, and this is sort of the first time I'm actually seeing the engine in the engine compartment. And what surprised me was how well it fitted into the compartment. We've had the vehicle for a little while now, about a week and a half, and we managed to put on about 500 miles. Most of that on the highway, and I'm really, really delighted with its performance on the highway. It does everything that I want it to do. I mean, I can be driving, you know, I can drive the speed limit in Utah, which is 80 miles an hour, with little or no effort. She just cruises down there, and in fact, I have tons of speed if I want to pull out past somebody. Not that I do that much often when I'm going that speed, but if I want to do it, I can do it. And it's pretty straightforward. So it's met the main requirement that we had for it. We've done a little bit of off-roading with the truck. And we haven't been in four-wheel drive low yet, but we have been in four-wheel drive high. And she four-wheels pretty much exactly the same way as she did before we had the engine installed. So I barely notice any of the weight difference. If anything, what I do notice is the suspension's a little softer on the off-road than it was before the engine went in. It was a little stiffer then. And quite frankly, the little softer suspension makes it very, very comfortable. So I'm absolutely delighted that the vehicle is really running at levels that I really like, and on the highway. She's still four-wheeling just fine. Next weekend, we're heading out towards Moab for a week. We're going to be on the trails out there, and we'll get a chance to really see how she does on some more difficult trails. So all in all, for 500 miles into it, I'm very, very pleased with the engine. So a number of you are probably wondering, in fact, that's probably the biggest question I get is, all right, how much did it cost? Well, I can tell you it was absolutely very, very expensive. All in, the labor, the engine, everything cost about a little over $45,000. And I had actually budgeted $50,000 to do the work, so it came in under my budget, and it was, again, it's still hard to write that check. I mean, essentially, you're buying most of a new vehicle. So a lot of people that I have talked to along the way say, well, why didn't you just sell this one and buy a new Jeep Gladiator from A&W directly? And to be honest with you, if I didn't own this Gladiator and hadn't put all the work into it that I have, and had it pretty much dialed into the way I want it, I very much would have considered that, because even at a little over $100,000, that's still a very good value relative to what I paid for this by the time you consider all of the suspension and bumper upgrades and tire upgrades and a myriad of other things that I've done to the vehicle to get it where we want. You know, things like having the cargo dog in the back with the back seat delete, having the Cirrus radio antenna rewired, all of these things that I'm not very good at and that really need other people to help me, really makes it much easier to having that done and not having to redo it. So it was selling this vehicle and then buying another one was something I really didn't want to do. So that, from that point of view, it worked out pretty well. Just about the only thing that we're going to have done that I had anticipated is that the muffler that was installed on the Jeep is a little small for my liking. It's the truck's a little bit noisy. I mean, it sounds great. The rumble is fantastic. But when you're spending 8 or 10 hours in it on the highway, it gets a little much. So they're going to quiet it down for me a little bit. It's a bit of a challenge with this Gladiator because I have the dual gas tanks. So this carries 40 gallons of fuel, and it doesn't leave much room for the muffler. So I think what we're going to do is put a second muffler in series with the first one and see how that works out. There's a little spot back by the spare tire they can install another one and see if that takes it down on the highway. As I said, when I'm rumbling along, 50 miles an hour, it's not so bad. But 80 on the highway, she's got that sort of sound to it that just gets irritating after a few hours. And I'm going to see if I can quiet that down. So I think I'll bring this video to an end. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts, please don't hesitate to put them in the section down below. If you would like me to answer any questions that you might have about the AMW or the Gladiator or the Harker, I'm always happy to do that. Excuse me. Just don't hesitate to ask them. Also, if you'd be so kind as to hit that subscribe button, we're getting pretty close to 1,000 subscribers, and I'd like to get there sooner than later. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. And until next time, bye for now.